The mother of a toddler who died years ago claims her daughter's spirit is caught on camera. Another family's camera later captured this video and showed it to Fabiola's mother, who says she's sure it's her daughter.
Sometimes miracles happen when we least expect them. An embrace that's impossible to see, but definitely there. Glimpses of something unseen, a presence of hope. They might just be moments. Or maybe they're a sign that there's more out there than we can explain. Bystanders recorded this video of a medical helicopter that was airlifting an injured person to a hospital in the US. As they continued recording, the camera picked up a light silhouette quickly moving up the sky. Since it was only picked up by the camera, nobody realized what they'd captured until after they reviewed the video. But even after that, they were clueless. They assumed the smoke-like figure probably came from the helicopter kicking off dust. However, they soon found out the injured person in the helicopter didn't make it and had passed away long before they made it to the hospital. Is it possible what we see quickly rising above is a soul heading to heaven? The Filipinos' honor. In 2020, Dondon, a Filipino resident, dove into a river to save the life of a dog. Although he succeeded, he couldn't survive against the currents and ended up passing away. But long before the news of his tragic passing became known, a woman reported seeing a bright humanoid silhouette materializing over the river, moments before it vaporized and disappeared from view. Surprisingly, her account was also recorded by a bystander who didn't know he'd be capturing something so surreal. Many believe this bright figure was actually the spirit of Dondon, peacefully ascending to heaven after completing his last good deed. Divine touch. This video will not only blow your mind, but also make you wonder if the world around us is full of things we're unable to see. This was taken in Honduras during a riverside baptism, just as the two new members took a dip into the water. And as their relatives and friends cheered them on, something unusual appeared over their heads. At first, I thought it was just the steam from the river, but if that were true, it'd be too hot for a swim, let alone a baptism. And the steam would be seen everywhere, not just over the freshly baptized people. And to top it off, they clearly take a humanoid shape. Now that's not a coincidence. In loving memory.
The mother of a toddler who died years ago claims her daughter's spirit is caught on camera.
In 2018, Sandra Gonzalez lost her little daughter to heaven. To honor her, Sandra placed toys and personal belongings on her little one's grave, but they kept disappearing, so she set up a camera to catch the thieves red-handed. However, she ended up capturing something entirely else. Close to midnight, the ghostly figure of a little girl appeared, walked over to the grave and hunched over it as if checking out the toys. Moments later, the ghostly figure disappeared. Initially thinking it was just a lost girl, Sandra reached out to the groundskeeper, who claimed there was no one there. It might sound unusual, but Sandra is convinced this was her little girl, paying her a much-needed visit from heaven.
She had introduced herself and she told us that she had something really beautiful to show us that they had captured on their video camera.
Virgin Mary. "15 years ago, residents in Tapao, Vietnam, took the country by storm after they revealed they'd witnessed Virgin Mary descending to Earth. Of course, most people were skeptical. They believed the residents were simply cooking up a storm to get attention. But then came this video, the one thing that proves the residents of Tapao weren't just talking blindly. They'd gathered around a hill to pray when a tall figure appeared. From afar, you'd think it's a statue, right? But wait till you see it move. That's enough to prove this was a real-life apparition, perhaps a sign to show the residents some peace. Invisible stalker. A mom freaked out her kids when she shared footage from her security camera. While her youngest son was adjusting their suitcases in the car trunk, a manly figure appeared in the woods, as if checking out the young man and his property, but there was something clearly amiss. The figure clearly had a ghost-like appearance, and just as the young man appeared from behind the trunk, the ghost-like figure ducked, as if not wanting to be seen. After checking out the video, the homeowners initially thought they'd captured a neighbor, but no one had walked there. Now they're sure it could be the spirit of one of their neighbors who had passed away a couple of weeks before this. An old friend.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Something just hit my truck.
Troy Vance is a teenager who's always been interested in paranormal cases. But little did he know, he'd encounter something that would shake him to his core. Troy was trying to start up his car when he clearly felt something hit it. Initially, he tried to ignore it, but then felt a cold presence and was too scared to drive. So he got out. To his horror, he saw the ghostly silhouette of another teen sitting in front of his truck. He even took a picture. And yep, that's a ghost. Troy later recognized the teen. It was an old classmate who had passed away a couple of weeks ago. But I bet that's a class reunion he didn't want.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Something just hit my truck.
Heavenly Bow. You might want to see this if you don't believe in angels. Captured by a man inside a mosque, the video shows one devotee who's clearly different from the rest. While most are praying clad in dark clothes, this mysterious devotee stands out because of their bright, shiny appearance, which is why people are questioning if it's even a human. After all, if you want to pray, who says you have to be a human? This video has prompted two theories. Either this is a very pure soul, or it's an angel paying a visit to the mosque. Instant action. A young woman was trying to cross the road at night, but mistimed her steps and ended up walking right in front of a car. The driver tried to brake, but it was too late. But just a millisecond before impact, a sudden gust of wind, and the woman was across the road, as if she'd teleported. It happened so suddenly, even the driver and the woman were confused, probably not understanding what had gone on. But since a local CCTV picked up what happened, we can clearly see a dark figure saving the girl. Maybe it was an angel, quickly saving a damsel in distress. The quick getaway. A roadside camera captured the moment a car swerved over the wrong lane. And while it was supposed to focus on the driver's reckless driver, the camera ended up capturing something entirely different. A bright flash of some sort, which you'd initially think is just a glitch, but then it picks up supersonic speed and quickly whizzes away. We can't see it, but apparently, this bright orb emerged from a homeless man who was lying on the curb and had lost the battle against life. Since then, people have been wondering, was this just something random filmed from an odd angle? Or did we see a heavenly soul quickly go where it belonged? The deep slumber. A homeless man put himself to bed, not knowing he'd also be laying himself to rest. Just as he went into a deep slumber, a camera positioned on the corner of the street picked up a ghostly figure, getting up from exactly where the homeless man lay. If you look a little closely, you'll realize the ghostly silhouette matches the homeless man to a dot. Is it possible we're seeing an actual manifestation of his soul on camera? Perhaps this is what happens everywhere when a person is finally laid to rest. But our eyes are no match for a camera's lens, so we never see it. Instant release. In 2017, a man went to bed, not knowing he'd never wake up again. Hours later, he was discovered lifeless, but in a peaceful state. Naturally devastated, his friends and family were left clueless about what had happened, especially since he'd been fine the night before. So they looked into the house camera the man had set up in his room. To their shock, they discovered that roughly an hour after midnight, a dark silhouette rose from the man. It was as if his own soul had decided to up and go, though you could see it momentarily pause as if confused about what had happened, and eventually faded above. An awaited visitor. Many people who experience loss report seeing their loved ones everywhere, as if they were still alive. For the most part, we've thought it an unbelievable idea. But for one mother in Metro Atlanta, it's brought us solace most of us will never know. Jennifer Hodge and her daughter were watching TV when their home security app alerted them of an intruder. Initially fearing something was about to go wrong, Jennifer quickly checked her phone, only to see a ghost-like figure that closely resembled her young son, who had passed months ago. Not believing her eyes, Jennifer checked her house, but no one was there. Now she's sure her son came back to check up on her one last time. Angel's touch. A mother is convinced that an angel saved her sick daughter's life, and she even has photos to prove it. Her daughter, Chelsea, was struggling to survive after a severe case of pneumonia, and despite everything doctors tried, they had run out of options. As her family prepared for the worst, hospital staff noticed a strange, bright light outside her room. They couldn't help but notice how unusually similar the bright light looked to an angel, and weirdly enough, it only appeared in front of Chelsea's room before disappearing. Moments later, Chelsea recovered, as if she was never sick. Well, that's a miracle if you ever see one. Unexpected savior. We think ghosts and spirits are evil, and many are, but some of them are there to protect us. I know you're going to take this with a grain of salt, but a CCTV camera in Seoul, Korea, captured something that'll make you change your mind. Apparently, one man was being followed by another who clearly didn't have good intentions. Within seconds, the follower jumped the man, probably hoping to steal his backpack, but to his shock, a ghostly figure emerged from the man and warded off his robbery attempt. It was spooky enough to make the robber quickly leave, leaving the first man confused. Maybe, just maybe, some spirits aren't as evil as they seem. Quick reflexes. A three-wheeler driver was crossing an intersection when a truck ran a red light and headed toward the three-wheeler's direction. By then, turning around, braking, or speeding up weren't options, because either way, the driver would have been doomed. But a bright flash, a humanoid figure, and the driver found himself on the parallel road with a man tending to him before the truck driver got out to help. Since both drivers were pretty confused, the man was able to make a quick getaway, leaving his identity a big mystery. It is believed he was either a superhuman or an angel that disguised itself as a man to help. Angel's Landing. Our eyes might not be able to see angelic and ghostly figures around us, but that's the beauty of cameras. They're able to capture what we can't. And what one camera has captured is simply unbelievable. Seen outside a hospital, the otherwise silent floor suddenly lights up, and then, within seconds, a bright, angelic figure quickly lands there. We've barely got enough time to make sense of what it is before it flies off, but thanks to the camera's slow playback, we can see this isn't just some figure, but one that looks humanoid. It's possible this is an actual angel, quickly checking up on Earth. Or maybe, just maybe, this is the spirit of a very good person. Gone with the wind. As first aid responders rushed to help the victim of a car swerving in the wrong lane, a bystander recorded something close to the victim's soul leaving the area, because many cars tend to release smoke when they get in trouble. So initially, everyone on site didn't really pay much attention, because to them, it was simply the car heating up. But after the bystander's video went viral, people were sure it was the victim's soul heading for a heavenly destination. A missed sight. Sometimes the world shows us signs so unbelievable, We would never have dreamed them possible if they weren't filmed. A CCTV camera stationed over a neighborhood in the US captured a strange bright object quickly whizzing across the sky. Since it was dark outside, it clearly wasn't a cloud. And a checkup of the camera proved this wasn't some weird glitch. So, what is it? Well, the house this was filmed over belonged to an elderly religious woman who passed away in her sleep that night. And so, the neighbors are beginning to believe this might actually be an angel or a spirit watching over the old woman's house. Pastor's belief.
This orb, this imagery just hovering in my living room.
It seems like the barrier between our world and others is getting thinner. At least, that is what many think after seeing what one Daytona Beach's pastor captured on their home camera. Pastor Monzel Ford was sleeping when he was alerted to the presence of an intruder in his living room. He pulled out his phone and saw no human, but a bright disc-like object, glowing lightly and moving across the camera. Not believing his eyes at first, he initially believed it could be some sort of reflection, or maybe even a glitch of some sort. But you can clearly see through the disc, so it's hard to believe this is just a camera trick.
But when I went out there, I couldn't physically see what I'm looking at in the live feed.
Neighborhood check. Nothing to see here. Just a man on a friendly walk around the neighborhood, captured by a homeowner's ring cam. But watch what happens next. As he inches closer and closer to the camera, his legs begin to disappear, as if they were vaporizing right in front of us. And as he crosses the house with the camera, his entire body turns invisible, with a slight dark silhouette still outlining his body. The homeowners were initially sure this was just a camera glitch, but when they checked in with the other neighbors, they realized this man didn't match any of their description. And that's not all. He wasn't even visible in other cameras. Now that's spooky. Hades' grip. It's horrifying to think about the types of strange and evil spirits lurking around us, waiting for their chance to strike. But nothing beats the horror of seeing what they're capable of. This was taken in an apartment lobby close to midnight. One of the residents was walking to his home when all of a sudden he encountered a smoky barrier. One that was see-through, but still had enough strength to hold him back. The man barely had time to react before. To his horror, the smoky barrier grabbed a hold of his feet and dragged him. Struggling to run, the man broke free and never looked back. What do you think this could be? A failed Grim Reaper? A departing embrace. This video was recorded by the CCTVs in a hospital in China, and since then, it has only questioned our understanding of the world. Lying on a hospital bed is a patient who had passed away moments before the CCTV rotated towards them. And then, a smoke-like shadow rose from the draped patient, momentarily pausing over the covered patient, and eventually taking flight. The hospital administration was sure it was some sort of a glitch, but the more they reviewed the tape, the clearer it became that this might be the manifestation of a soul, or something similar. Unwanted follower. The next time you take out the trash, you might want to be quick, because you never know what lurks in the darkness. A woman captured a strange and eerie ghostly figure standing behind her husband as he was taking out the trash. Now it could just be fog or steam of some sort, but to present itself in such a way is incredibly strange. Plus, I don't know how else to phrase it, but it seems like this ghostly shape was sentient, as if it could feel and understand, so it's possible it was purposely stalking the man. Although for what reason, that's something better left unanswered. Split in two. What if we're not the manifestation of one, but multiple souls? And perhaps the souls inside us are always in some form of conflict. The emotions we feel like anxiety or distress is simply an outward reaction to what's going on inside. And the moment one soul wins over the other, it drives the other out, which gets stuck in the world seeking a new body to live in? Take a look at this. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just a man talking on the phone. And then clearly, a spiritual object emerges from within him and walks off. And the man's still perfectly fine, so it can't be his core soul, could it? A rushed affair. In 2019, ambulances were called to the Sri Lankan shores after multiple reports of a fisherman going overboard came in. Just as the local news crew prepared for their segment and rolled the cameras, a dark gust of wind blew past. Initially not realizing it, the crew focused on the fishermen searching for the missing man. However, the search proved futile, and they quickly retreated. It wasn't until the news made it on national TV that viewers quickly noticed the gust of wind looked more concrete. Hours later, it was discovered the fisherman had lost his life to sea, prompting many to wonder if what they'd seen was his soul. Hospice relief. Countless hospice nurses report seeing mysterious things near patients. For the most part, their experiences have been chalked off to just being hyper-aware of their surroundings, but more and more people are coming forward with proof. Like this video, recorded of a hospice patient who soon passed away after this video was taken. If you pay a little more attention to the video, you'll notice bright orbs hovering near the patient. This is exactly what countless nurses have reported over the years. Many believe these orbs are manifestations of the souls, or maybe even angels, here to take the hospice patient to their next destination. Doggone it. It's not only humans who experience miracles and strange happenings, animals do too. While we've always loved the idea of a doggy heaven, we've rarely stopped to wonder about our furry friends. Perhaps while we reminisce about their memories, they too linger around us, hoping for one last whiff before they go on chasing squirrels. This video was recorded by a man who could hear the low growl of a canine outside his trailer, but couldn't see anyone. When he replayed the video, he saw this smoke-like object that quickly disappears. He believes this might be the spirit of his childhood dog, possibly reading off bad spirits as its last good act. Failed convergence. We talk about souls leaving our bodies. But what if they're trying to come back? And here's an even scarier thought. What if the world is full of misplaced souls, seeking a vessel to relive life? I know it all sounds a bit strange, but check this out. She'd been experiencing strange things ever since her visit to the 19th century Wilson Castle, so she set up a camera. And late into the night, as she and her friend are in deep sleep, a tiny, bright orb appears in their room. It quickly disappears into the sleeping man, only to re-emerge moments later and then vanish. Now, they're convinced this was a lost Victorian soul that had followed them home. Hafton Mystery. It's surreal to think of all the ghosts we've passed but never realized because our eyes aren't capable of seeing them. But our cameras are much more adept at picking up silhouettes that aren't there. And this is what One Ring doorbell camera has captured. At first, you'd think it's just a neighbor walking along the street, right? But watch as he loses all sense of a body and turns into a ghostly shadow, while it could just be a glitch. The next time you see a neighbor, double-check to ensure they really are human. Victorian visitor. Louise Lenton was recording her 5-year-old son take on a bicycle for the first time, when she also captured an elderly neighbor watching the boy from up a room. But here's where things get tricky. Not only has that particular room been empty for years, but there's also no one in the neighborhood who matches this description. Spooked, Louise did a little digging and found out the building actually dates back to the 19th century, where a Victorian family was living before the last of their descendants moved away. Now she's sure she's captured the lost soul of a Victorian woman, perhaps holding on in hopes of seeing her own family return one day. Heaven's abode. As a woman stayed close to her beloved father taking his last breath, she decided to take one short video to remember him by. From the corner, a very small and light orb quickly moved above. It was so small that she didn't even notice it until a friend pointed it out. Since her father passed away quickly after this, she now thinks it could be her father's spirit. Or maybe it could be an angel, there to escort her father to heaven. Out of sight, out of mind. In 2015, Japanese students decided to conduct an experiment to see how our bodies experience astral projection, or an out-of-body experience where our soul apparently takes flight and wanders the earth until it returns. To achieve this, they hooked up a woman who claimed to have experienced astral projection several times. To their surprise, they captured a silhouette, shaped exactly like the woman, but transparent in nature, slowly emerge from the woman's body and move along. During this, the woman drifted in a deep sleep until the spirit returned to her body. Well, this explains a lot. Eternal embrace. 8 years ago, a picture shared by a newscaster went viral. It was of an accident that had taken place on a highway in Kentucky, with ambulances tending to the victim. Tragically, he didn't survive, and news quickly spread of the incident. But here's the most peculiar part. While the picture was supposed to invoke empathy and compassion, it also made people question the concept of hereafter. Because right in the midst of the ambulances, where the deceased victim lay, there was a humanoid smoke-like figure rising above. Could it be the spirit of the person who'd passed away? Stairway to Heaven.
The photo is the pathway to heaven. They went straight to heaven.
Yet another picture taken by a bystander that questions our understanding of the world. A bright beam shining on the place of an accident, where the victim didn't end up surviving. The beam itself is startling enough, but right in the midst of it, an even brighter shape, clearly aiming for the sky. Ever since this picture was taken, people have dubbed it the Stairway to Heaven. And for good reason. It seems like heaven unraveled a special staircase for the victim, whose spirit quickly took the chance to go up.
The photo is the pathway to heaven. They went straight to heaven.
Or Beria. There's a theory that states our souls don't take humanoid, ghostly shapes like we believe, but are actually bright little orbs buzzing with energy. It is also believed that sometimes these orbs are too energetic to go on to the afterlife, so they stay on Earth, lurking the places where their previous owners once lived in search of new owners. One such orb was captured by a homeowner's camera, roaming their living area around 4 a.m. It hovered over the area for a while before finally moving away. The homeowner believes this orb belongs to his late wife, who had passed away months before this video was taken. Spirited away. Groundskeepers see and experience things most of us wouldn't even imagine. After all, there's a reason graveyards are associated with evil figures and unwanted visitors. But maybe they're not all that bad. Maybe some spirits are having a hard time moving on and lurk in the graveyards until they finally accept it's time to let go. This video was taken by a groundskeeper who kept encountering these bright orbs. He believes these orbs are either still not ready to let go, or they might actually be the manifestation of angels visiting Earth to make the transition to the afterlife smoother. Kitty Spook. Did you know cats and other animals sense things we can't see? This is why when your pet begins behaving weirdly, it's time to investigate what's going on. And here, we'll see how one cat reacts to seeing something that isn't exactly visible, but is clearly there. As the light orbs approach the camera, I realize how easy it would be to chalk these off as just a glitch or a couple of bugs. But the closer these orbs get, the more you realize they have a great presence, strong enough to alert even the kitty, spooking her enough that she moves away. Still think this is a glitch? Doctor's loss. In 2017, a hospital camera captured something unsettling. As a patient lay on the stretcher, the medical team having already lost their hope. A ghostly silhouette emerged from the unknown patient and quickly dispersed. The patient, previously in good health, began to struggle as doctors immediately rushed to his aid. Tragically, it was far too late, and the patient succumbed to an unknown cause. However, the camera tells us perhaps he decided to embrace the Grim Reaper himself, especially since we see him go up willingly. Rest in peace. We've all had that one dream where we feel like we're no longer in our bodies, and then suddenly jolt awake. Well, for a long time, researchers have been trying to figure out why our bodies react like that, or why we even get the surreal feeling of being outside our own bodies. Well, there's one theory that suggests it might be because when we sleep, our heartbeat slows down immensely, and our souls become detached from our bodies. Our souls then travel across places, meeting other souls, and return to our sleeping selves. When they do, all that they've experienced becomes our dreams. It sounds crazy, but after what this camera captured, it might be a possibility. A stallion's return. Anyone who's ever experienced the loss of a pet knows they would give anything just to see their beloved pal again. And it looks like one man finally got to experience this lifetime dream. He had lost his horse a couple of years before this video was taken, and although his own horse was black, he noticed a white ghostly horse silhouette calmly approach his porch, and then back out moments later. The second the man saw this, he knew he had seen the spirit of his horse, possibly wandering the pastures in hopes of seeing its owner once again. Heavenly orbs. It's not unusual to see bright orbs surrounding patients taking their last breaths. It is believed these orbs are actually good-natured spirits, descending on Earth to take lost souls to heaven. Some also believe these kind spirits are actually angels that want to make the trip to the hereafter and heaven as smooth as possible. So they personally descend to escort some kind souls to eternal peace. If this is what we're seeing with this hospice patient, then I bet their loved ones felt at peace, knowing their beloved would be taken after. Open discussion. A couple of bystanders found a homeless man lying on the road, apparently in deep slumber. Initially, they wanted to jolt him awake, but as they inched closer, they saw a dark, smoke-like apparition rise from his body and move up to the sky. Terrified, they weren't sure how to proceed, especially after realizing the homeless man had passed away in his sleep. If this really is the man's soul, it tells us a lot about things that are there, but can't be seen by human eyes. But if it isn't the spirit, what else could it be?